CTM. Mic check, mic check. Happy Friday, everyone. Happy Friday. Hope you all are well and doing great. It's actually our first Friday session in a couple of weeks. So this is kind of special. I'm really happy to be here with you all. Hope you all are ready for the weekend. We got a lot going on in the markets right now. It could be a long weekend for a lot of people. We'll take a look at it all. We'll make sure that we walk away with what we do best, that calmness and that clarity, and keep that focus. It's actually going to be a good session. I'm just going ahead and I'm christening it right now. We're gonna have a super good time over here and walk away, hopefully, just a lot more prepared. All right, let me jump in over here, and I'm looking at right over here the most two important levels in Bitcoin. $37,000. This is the bear flag support. You could see that coming over there. What's really neat and what's really interesting is that you could see the top resistance of the bear flag with 1, 2, 3 touches. It's an exact clone. If I bring it down over here, you will see that that's an exact clone, and that helped me to understand and know whether or not I wanted to line up the line like this, touching the bot. Let me get that line a little bit darker for you all here as we get going today. All right, if I wanted to line up the line touching that touch over there, the bottom of that wick, which would have brought the bottom of the bear flag support down a little bit lower. And ultimately, I decided to leave it like this because of the exact clone above. And then below that, we have $35,000. That's a really big level. Below that, we have a massive technical breakdown. You all remember the last big massive technical breakdown was at $53,000 right over here. We spent Thursday and Friday, the 2 days before here on CTM, just letting everyone know what was happening in case you wanted to go ahead and position somehow for it, right? Same thing happens over here, $35,000. If I zoom out, and again, as we did the clone line over here, a lot of people look at this chart and they're not exactly sure what's going on. They would like to know. Now, because you're putting the work in each and every day, I know that when you look at this chart, it's very clear to you. But let's just make sure we have people joining us. We want to make sure that we take everyone with us. Over here, we have the high of April, the high of November. That trend line over there, if you clone it and bring it down, you touch the June you touch the July lows, it also then tags the January low. That's the channel that we've been running in over here ever since last April was the top touch of it, and then last June was the bottom touch of it. If that breaks down, if price breaks below that, that's a big technical breakdown. That's a level similar to $53,000 where you might want to be, prepared ahead of time in case you plan on doing anything. There are people that sold spot up here, and that's a good position for them to be in. Maybe they're not paying taxes in the jurisdiction they're in or something like that. And as long as they get positioned back in before that rise back above 53,000. The same thing happening down over here. If you're getting out on the break, your risk then becomes not owning Bitcoin. And what you're looking to see is if price has any type of repair or will work through it in real time as it occurs. But the only other thing that I do want to add was that we had over here, right, the big break of 53,000. And then we had this entry over here, which failed. And then the next entry we had over here was that Friday, February the 4th, $38,000. That has been the last technical buy entry on Bitcoin. And since then, by the way, price is right where it was back then. All of this has been noise since. And that continues to be noise. This is the last technical buy unless there's an exit. Now, the exit I don't think is $37,000. If you get the exit, if you get the breach of the bear flag support, 35,000 is what I have my eye on. That's the big number below there that I'm going to call a technical breakdown. This is pretty interesting over here, coming from Jurian, head of global macro for Fidelity. And he's showing you, right, since the pandemic, since the March 2020 crisis, the performance against all sectors. I mean, the chart speaks for itself. You do have energy over here finally playing catch up, right? You can see, and it gets lost. It ends right about over here. I think energy might be outperforming tech right now. And tech outperforming the S&P 500. Look at those non-profitable tech, the meme stocks, and they are getting absolutely crushed. There are many things to be bearish on in the market. Take your pick. Take your pick. There are many things to be bearish. Now, I would go for weakness. I tend to look to attack weakness with strength. I don't look to attack strength. That doesn't seem right or very smart to me. And if you want to take your pick on what you should be attacking, by the way, obviously Jurian is not listing altcoins over here. But if you were to take the top 50 to 100 altcoins, I am sure they are getting obliterated. But Bitcoin over here, it is a standout and looks really good. Equity markets today are under strong pressure. Everyone knows Apple's earnings came in poor. Last I saw, Apple was trading up this morning. And since then, the rug has been pulled. It is now trading down 2%, taking with it, obviously, the indexes. Amazon also poor earnings, and you could see that is being priced in today. We are right now at a very critical point over here. You could see this circle over here. That's the March low. This is where the Fed began the next day their rate hikes, right? This was peak fear, war fear, unknown, uncertainty. And this rally, the relief rally, has been smacked down violently. Price on an intraday basis making that lower low, but closing above it over here. We have one more going back over to May 2021, another time that price was down in this area. Let me zoom out and give you the big picture over here. We prepared ourselves earlier in the week talking about what happens if that swing low is taken out, this March low over here. If we get a close below that level, it's coming in right now at just about 13,008. Watch out, a close below that opens up not only another leg down, it opens up what could be a prolonged bear market. We don't know what it's going to look like. That is what you should be watching, though. And why we're above it, though. Why we are trading above it. If you get a breakout, you see I have over here this line of repair. A break above it, that just set up a really good risk to reward. When I say risk to reward, you know where you're wrong. A close below this level of 13,000 on the NASDAQ, you are wrong. We're looking for a leg down, and it could be big. But if you saw earlier the tweet, Janet Yellen, U.S. Treasury Secretary, is basically setting up the pivot. Now, I'm not going to try to time the Fed pivot. When they pivot, we will know. We will then be able to make sure that we position ourselves accordingly. But she was giving language to set up a Fed pivot, and just saying with the condition, the state of the market, they feel like that when things start, breaking, they have to come in quick and they have to come in hard. The IMF director yesterday, by the way, did you hear? She was saying that they might have overprinted. They didn't realize the consequences of them printing the running the pressers. I mean, all of the internet did. That's either disingenuous or just we need to replace these people, who are running these institutions. The reason I bring this all up, though, we'll get that into just one more second. Let's keep going over here. All right. Oh, by the way, if you do get this line of repair, this breakout over here, your risk reward is very favorable because you know where you're wrong. We'll see if that happens, or we'll see what happens today on this Friday. Getting a close below that area on the NASDAQ going into the long weekend. Wow, I imagine that will really bring crypto down with it as well if that's occurring. And again, we have the two levels that we need to be watching. Everyone, again, this has all been noise. This was the last technical buy. This was tweeted. You all were here. You know when we covered it as it was occurring in real time. And then again, just watch out. Watch your risk. Always be aware of your risk. This morning, you saw a slight blip up. A slight blip up in the Chinese yuan. Overnight, by the way, this is interesting. I need to read these couple of sentences with you before I go on. The headline is Chinese stocks surge after Beijing vows new tools, policies to spur growth. Another day, another solemn promise by China. This is verbal intervention to prop up its economy and crashing markets. On Friday, China's top leaders, after pushing a doomed deleveraging campaign for the past 2 years. Seems like that's what the central banks, led by the Federal Reserve, are doing right now, one which crippled the country's housing sector. I was listening to a lot of conversation yesterday. People think that, the housing market is super strong and is going to keep going up. We will see. I think it depends on when the Fed pivots. And then there's always in the back of your mind, what happens if they don't? What happens if they let this thing crash in a deflationary spiral because for whatever reason that suits their own needs? That keeps me up at night. I think about it. I don't take anything for granted, but it does seem that, as Janet Yellen was voicing earlier, that their response to any type of crisis is to go ahead and act quickly and print money. It also nuked the stock market. They promised, again, a series of new policy promises to boost economic stimulus, to spur growth, and vowed, anyway, I'll talk about the rest. But interesting, you could see over here, markets responded very well. This was done before the markets closed on Friday over in Asia. They did this during lunch so that they had that nice afternoon rally. And you can see over here the yuan gaining on that news. Whether or not that is temporarily or not, that remains to be seen. I just do want to point out, every time the yuan has finished depreciating, when it began appreciating, that's when risk really rallies. Here's the other example of that, going back to when the yuan finished devaluing, and when it begins appreciating, that's when risk really begins to run. So is it possible, if this is something more than, let's say, a short time occurrence, if this holds, is it possible that we wind up getting a bounce over here on risk? We'll be watching for it. This is also huge news. The Kremlin confirms their intention to back the ruble with gold and commodities. Bretton Woods 3 happening before our eyes. I wish you all were here. I didn't take a position. It's possible. You could trade CME ruble futures. There's also other ways and other avenues to execute. I wish I would have had to taken a ruble position as we saw the enormous sell-off on the first days of the war. And boom, 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 boom. At the same time, the Russian central bank also lowered their interest rates from 17% to 14%. Ruble continues to rise. Here's a nice, beautiful chart. We were talking about over here on CTM during this rise up, that looked like an incredible place to step in and buy. That would have been the trade of the year, no question about that. Now, as a close below on this Friday, that would be ugly. A close below would be ugly. Just really just talking about as you're towards a place where you can manage your risk, getting this type of repair, this double black diamond breakout, that from a risk to reward standpoint could be pretty good. Talking on the downside, risking, let's call it, 500 points, and then you're talking on the upside to get back above here. I mean, 20. It's like a 5-to-1 risk reward ratio. Not to make new all time highs, just to get back into the zone. Just taking out that last swing high. All right, everyone. Thanks for the Friday, fun Friday here at CTM. I'll see you on Monday. Have a beautiful day. May God bless you. And I'll talk to you soon, everyone.